Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Washington, D.C. to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm very good, mate. Back here the day after our rankings video. The boys doing some quick fire football content just to show the people that we're back on the grind. So, yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, yeah, absolutely. If you haven't seen our new rankings video that came out last night, so you can hit the card in the top right corner right now. That'll take you over there. It's been about 14 days since our last rankings, and a lot has happened in that time, and we've got a couple new number ones up there, so definitely some interesting stuff. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. And while we're on the topic, if you're watching this right now, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. And if you are somebody or know somebody that would be interested in the podcast form of this show, then just search the Rank and Report Football Show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we will be the first thing that comes up. All right, Charlie. Shall we
just quickly, Adam, before we move on, there's a popular Instagram account. I don't want to come for anyone here. I don't want to use our massive platform to come for anyone. But there's an Instagram account called FTBL. I don't know if you've seen it, but they release their own kind of rankings every week or every couple of weeks. And theirs is weird this week. Theirs is weird. They've got Leicester in third. They've got Atletico down in fifth. Basically, all this is to say, stick with us. We actually know what we're on about, okay? Just like, if you see these random top tens flying about on social media, sweep that under the carpet, come to us. That's all I'm saying.
I've also seen One Football does a weekly power rankings, but it seems to be like purely kind of who won the weekend kind of thing. Like, right, I would imagine like Borussia Mönchengladbach would be at number one this week. So it's different criteria than ours. So I still think we're special.
Of course, yeah. But anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Yes, today we are chatting about Lyon, Olympique Lyonnais. Looks like we finally got ourselves a title race in France for the first time in, I don't know. I mean, we had Monaco win it a few years ago, I think 2015, but it's basically been all PSG for about a decade. But yeah, Lyon are sitting top of Ligue 1 right now. What's so special about this team? Just where are we going to start from here about this team? Because they've got, great counterattack and obviously had a deep run in the Champions League last year. And why has it been so sustainable so far?
Yeah, I think just on the topic of what you were saying a moment before there, I think Monaco won it in 16-17. I was actually in the shower then about half an hour ago, just thinking, when was the last time someone won the title that's not PSG? So it's very and Monaco were the last ones in 16-17, and before that it was Montpellier in 11-12. So yeah. PSG have been really, really dominant over there, and it's very refreshing to see a team like Lyon really sticking it to them now. And to answer your question, what's special about Lyon? I think they've been good, kind of. Obviously, they're playing really well this season, but they were playing well at the tail end of last season as well. Obviously, like you said, they play really good football, counter-attacking side. But people were kind of blinded by the fact, I think they finished 7th or 6th in Ligue 1 last season. And they obviously dumped Man City out of the Champions League. But at that point in the season when they dumped us out, they were actually in really good form and they were playing some really good football. So, obviously, I think the style of football is what's working really well for them under Rudy Garcia, who's a very good manager. And they've got some very talented individuals in there as well, who I'm sure you want to talk about. There's one that sticks out very clearly to me anyway.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth mentioning Rudy Garcia because, like you say, they were only really caught form in the latter stages of last season. But he didn't come in till October, so this is actually his first full season at the helm. He came in for Silvino. Look, this is a big club that should be in that title race every season. They had a dominant stretch. I think it was 2001 to 2009 they won the league title every year. But yeah, Rudy Garcia comes in October. He implements a much sturdier system. Last season they tend to play a 3-4-3 or like a 3-5-2 kind of thing. And yeah, it worked really well. Obviously, like you said, they dumped City out of the Champions League, but don't forget they also dumped out Ronaldo's Juventus the round before that as well. But yeah, when you talk about some of the attacking talent, I think you've obviously got to start with Memphis Depay. who, had a tough time at United, came to Lyon to kind of have a bit of a renaissance, and it's really happened. This season, him and Carl Toko Ekambi have 20 goals between them. Plus, you add in Tino Kadewere, he's got 7 goals of his own. And that front three right there, when they come running down the field at you, it is a scary, scary thing. But yeah, I mean, obviously Memphis is the kind of focal point of that. It's worth mentioning he's in his last couple months of his contract. So I think right now he's actually available to sign with any other clubs as his contract runs down. But yeah, if I were Lyon, I would hold on to this guy any way that I can.
Yeah, Barcelona. I think Barcelona have been interested in him for quite a long time. As soon as Ronald Koeman took over, anyway, because obviously he's got that Dutch link. When Koeman used to be in charge of the Dutch team, Depay used to play up front because the Dutch don't really have a proper recognised striker. And I think the thing you'd say about Depay is he's actually adapted his game really well to play up top for Lyon. Because I remember when he went to United a few years ago, he definitely came from PSV as a winger, as a really talented winger. And I don't know, that I did tell an anecdote on here a few weeks ago, which was pretty cool, which was, I'm not going to drag it out as long as I did that time, but basically Depay and his agent pinpointed Lyon. They got some professional tactician involved to analyse Depay, and they pinpointed Lyon as the club where he would be most effective. And that is why he ended up going to Lyon. And so I don't know if he intended to go in there as a striker or whether he just gravitated towards being a striker eventually. But either way, he's a really exciting striker. He's not totally conventional, but he's very talented, and I think he's absolutely key in the way that he knits the attack together as the central point in that front three.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a player of that style can flourish in a system like this, in which they don't necessarily set up camp in the opposition half and just send crosses into him, because that's not necessarily his style. But if he is starting with the ball around midfield and he can link up with Toko Ekambi, Houssem Aouar, who's another player to come on to, and Tino Kadewere, and you can kind of link up and rotate that front three and counterattack with that front three, then it suits really any pacey attacking players, down to the floor, because he doesn't need to connect with crosses or anything like that, because he can just run at defenders, and he's very good at running with the ball. But like I said, last season they played a bit more conservative under Rudy Garcia. They tend to pick their time to counterattack, whereas now, this season, according to WhoScored.com, which is a really trustworthy site, they've played 12 of their 19 matches this season. They've lined up in a 4-3-3. So I think this season they do look to keep the ball a little bit more, whereas last season it was really let the opposition have the ball and then just all-out counterattack when they got the chance.
The thing is with Lyon, they are a very good counter-attacking side, but the players that they've got, the technically gifted players that they've got, like Depay up there, Aouar in midfield, and to be honest, they've got technically good players everywhere on the pitch. That means that they're not just a one-trick pony. Obviously, a lot of these players are quick, which means you can knock a ball over the top to them and they can latch onto it. But also, they don't have to rely on that completely. The likes of Aouar, Depay, they can kind of knit together these really quick passes, which are really, really difficult to defend. And if you watch highlights of Lyon's recent games, that's what you'll see a lot of the time. 1 and 2 touch around the box, little chips over the top. And you'll actually see, quite a good variation of goals from them. So that's definitely a strong point for them to not just be a one-trick pony like they might have been last season.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's probably where they fell short last season in the league, whereas now they have that ability. You see the game where they beat PSG in Paris 1-0. PSG had all the ball, all the attacking play, and then, Lyon found their chances and picked them off on the break. But yeah, moving on from the attacking players, well, not necessarily an attacking player that they are moving on from. It looks like Moussa Dembele, who was a key player for them last season, is going to head to Atletico Madrid to replace Diego Costa, and it looks like Islam Slimani is going to come in to fill those shoes.
Didn't know
right.
that.
That's exactly my reaction. But upon further digging, he hasn't really featured for Leicester, but he did chip in for Monaco in the 2019-20 season with 9 goals and 7 assists. So it looks like in French football, somebody can get a tune out of him. This isn't a player, obviously, that's going to slot right into the starting 11 because that front three is kind of solid with Kadewere, Toko Ekambi, and Depay. But I don't know. I'm definitely less convinced with Slimani as the striker to spell any of those front three than I am with Moussa Dembele.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a risk. I didn't know that, to be honest. I knew Dembele had pretty much sealed his move to Atletico. But yeah, Slimani in. As far as English football is concerned, he's just a dead man. Like, you don't see him. You don't see him for Leicester. They bought him in for about £30 million a few years ago. But like you say, he was effective last season at Monaco. Had a goal rate of 1 in 2. So yeah, maybe he will come in and be effective. But I think Toko Ekambi has surprised a lot of people as well. I wasn't too familiar with him before this season. He's got 8 goals in 14 already this season, playing off the left wing the majority of the time, I think. And yeah, his name is Carl Brilliant Toko Ekambi, if you didn't know. That's his middle name. So he had a lot to live up to. But yeah, 28 years old. I hadn't heard of him, so I presumed he might have been a kind of a youngster that had just come through or something like that. But as everyone can see, he's got a really, really good goal scoring record as he's come through the season. So as they've lost some of their attacking talent, it looks like Dembele's set to go. Bertrand Traore went to Aston Villa in the summer. So I think so far, given that they're a really good attacking side, I think they've coped well with the players that have left. So maybe we shouldn't doubt Slimani just yet.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, like you said, Traore went out the door last summer. Dembele is now. They also sold Terrier, I believe. Terrier, maybe is the French pronunciation. But he went to a top 4 rival in Rennes. So it's a bit confusing the way the Lyon board work. It's like they seem to be selling some of their best players and not replacing them with the same quality. But I think the credit's got to go to Rudy Garcia that he's keeping them in that top 4 hunt and this season in a title hunt. But on that topic, how sustainable is this? Are they a real title challenger, or are we still kind of expecting PSG to just kick on? I don't want this to necessarily be a PSG discussion, but I think it's kind of necessary in this kind of league where it all depends on one team. If PSG kind of fall off, then there are a lot of teams around there that could pick them off. But do you feel like Lyon so far, that what we're seeing from them is sustainable for 20 more matches?
I think you've got to say that Lyon are in the position that they are now because PSG have had a subpar season. So I think we're far enough into the season now where we've got a good impression of where teams stand. We've seen what Lyon have got to offer. I think they can sustain it over the course of the season. But I think, a lot of it depends on how PSG bounce back. Thomas Tuchel's gone now. Mauricio Pochettino's come in, who's, obviously from his time at Tottenham, he's known as a very, very good manager. So whether they can win the title, I think some of it is out of their hands because PSG's squad is just stratospheres above theirs. And that's just the long and short of it, really. But I think it would be good for them if they can sustain what they've shown in this first half of the season. If they can sustain that over a full season, that would be an impressive season. And I think it won't be long, unless Pochettino builds an absolute juggernaut at PSG. I think Lyon have got a good chance of winning the league in the next few years because a lot of their squad is full of young players. Some young, like Aouar, is 22, and some crazy young, like this guy Ryan Cherky, who's 17, and he's got a full-blown beard, which makes me feel very inferior. But you know what I mean? That Lyon, for a long time, Lyon have been a club with a lot of young talent, so either they're going to be able to sell that on and get a lot of money and reinvest, or they're going to come through for them and be very talented, be the talent that they need to compete with PSG.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of a title push, I think if we're looking at where they are right now, at just over the halfway point, they sit at 40 points. So if they can replicate their first half of the season form into the second half and finish at just about 80 points, maybe a little under, I mean, PSG at the very least are going to take 2 or 3 weeks to really catch form under Poch, if that even happens. So I think that's totally doable. I don't think there's really any team in any league around Europe that's going to be hitting the 90 to 100 point range this season, just because the season is so crazy and helter-skelter. So I think a title push is totally sustainable. And yeah, I think this squad is really well built for it. So I think this is maybe one of the first, I wouldn't say they're a lesser known club, but one of the first not normal title contenders that I really feel like has a chance this year to be one of the newcomers at the top of their table. So I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good about it. You have to keep in mind, because they finished in 7th last season, they have no European competition this year. So while PSG are playing, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Lyon may just be playing Saturday. So that'll be a big boost for them as well, especially in this season.
Yeah, and that is always, yeah, like you say, big consideration this season is how jam-packed the schedule is. Inter have crashed out of Europe. They've got a good chance now to kick on in Serie A. Could be the same for Lyon in the French league. But yeah, just if assuming we rounded it off, I'd just be excited to see Lyon back to their former glory, because when I was growing up, it was that period where Lyon won 6 or 7, maybe even more than that. I think it was 7 titles in a row in France. They had some great players. Michael Essien was there. I think Benzema was there at the end of that spell, and a lot of others that I'm definitely just forgetting about. So yeah, it would just really be a refreshing kind of cat amongst the pigeon in the French league if they were, Rudy Garcia and his team could take it to PSG. Yeah, I'd enjoy that very much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, as I always say, only time will tell with this Lyon side, but I think we're going to wrap it up there. So if you are still here 17, 18 minutes in, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we release a new video. Charlie, any last words for the people?
Just to go and watch our rankings video and be on the lookout. Follow us on Twitter as well. At rank_report.
Yes.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. And also be on the lookout for videos in the coming days. As I said, back on the grind. There's some United chat coming up. UCL preview at some point as well. So yeah, be on the lookout.
All right. See ya.